Hello everyone, Clack of the Geek here, and welcome back to a brand new video. And today we're going to be doing another ranking video of Doctor Who, where we're going to be ranking the TARDIS console rooms from worst to best. Now, over the years, there's been many redesigns of the TARDIS console room. I love the TARDIS console room; it's a great idea, and it's so fascinating. Now, on this list, we've got about 13 to get through, so let's get to the ranking. At last place, we've got the third Doctor TARDIS from the Time Monster. This is only used in one story, that being the Time Monster, and it just looks ugly. Like the roundels, they're like sort of the bowl roundels, they're infamous and they just look ugly. And those roundels just make the set look dated. It's the only TARDIS that I think looks dated, you know. It looks just like a really ugly 70s set, and none of the other TARDISes, even the ones low down on the list, like around here, I don't think look dated, but this one does, and that's why it's at the bottom of the list. In 12th place, we've got the 13th Doctor's TARDIS, the current TARDIS, first introduced in the Ghost Monument. Now, it has grown on me a little bit over time, because in Series 12 it was improved on, like the lighting was a little bit better, they added some stairs, which helps give a few more levels, and I like the sort of hexagons around the wall, but the main room just looks big and ugly. Like the crystals, just no, it shouldn't. I don't like all this organic nonsense. It just looks ugly, and the console is horrific. Like, it's so messy and just unclear of what's what. It just looks ugly. At 11, we've got the 9th and 10th Doctor TARDIS, used from Series 1 to the end of time. Again, I don't like the whole coral theme. It doesn't look like a spaceship. It just looks like something dug up from Sea Life Centre. With the coral, like, pillars, it just looks ugly. And, like, the lighting looks so dark and dingy and grungy. I don't like it that much. However, what puts it above the Jodie one is the console is a bit nicer. The time rotor is nice and cylindrical. It's nice and it's nicely proportioned. And the actual console, because it's implied that the Doctor just put little bits and bobs on, and because it's structured a bit better, like it's more clear what it is, that's why it's above the Jodie console for me. In 10th place, we've got the 4th Doctor's secondary console room from Season 14. Now, while Season 14 is probably my favourite classic season, this console room is just not my cup of tea. I just don't like the whole wood aesthetic of it. That's just why I don't like it that much. Yeah, I just don't like the wood aesthetic. It just doesn't flatter the set in any real way. And it's also really small, so it's like really cramped. And the console as well, it's literally just a tiny little table with a few little buttons that you press it. There's no time rotor, and there's like a mirror for some reason, I don't know. It just does not flatter the set in any way. However, I do quite like the scanner screen that you see that goes into space. I do quite like that, and I quite like the stained glass roundels. They're pretty cool as well, but other than that, not a fan of this one. In at 9th place, you've got the 4th and 5th Doctor's console room from season 15 to 20, I believe. Now, here's where we're starting to get to the consoles that I actually quite like. In this one, not amazing, but it's what I imagine a TARDIS should be like. It feels more like a spaceship, but it's still got some shortcomings. It feels quite small, and especially in the early days of this console, it felt like Tom Baker sort of like squeezing past to get to the console. It's a bit too small and a bit cramped, and the lighting is a bit off, but the overall design isn't too bad. I'm also not massive on the console. I mean, it's not terrible. It's a nice design, and it's quite colourful, and I like that. But I think compared to future consoles that we get, this one just falls a bit short. At number 8, we've got the 11th Doctor's console room from Series 5 to Series 7 Part 1. Now, I've got to say, I really like the room of this. I like all the different levels and all the staircases leading to different places. You get the feel of it being bigger on the inside, and I love all the colours in it. Like the oranges and the sort of the greens, they mix together really well, and it sort of fits with Matt Smith's Doctor's, personality of being very wild and scatty. It's a very good room. However, the console I'm a bit iffy on. I think it looks good, but it's not amazing, I don't think. But that's the only drawback. I think this is quite a good console room. In 7th place, you've got the 8th Doctor's console room from the TV movie. Now, I think the actual console itself looks beautiful. The blue time rotor, the fact that it goes to the ceiling, some of the controls, like the date settings, and it looks really nice. And I quite like sort of the metal pillars that connect it. It looks beautiful, and the actual room itself is good, but it feels a bit. It doesn't quite feel like a spaceship as much. I like the fact that it tries to be more homely, And I think that's something that should be incorporated when can, but I think it goes a bit too far. It doesn't get the right balance for me. However, I do like this console room. I do appreciate them trying to do something a bit different with the console room. And it feels sort of like what that Tom Baker one, that wooden Tom Baker one, should have been like. It was a nice combination of sort of wooden parts and more sci-fi parts. At 6, we've got the War Doctor's console room, used only in the Day of the Doctor. Now, I personally feel that this is what Christopher Eccleston should have had when the show came back in 2005. And like the War Doctor himself, this is basically a blend of the modern and the old. You've got the beautiful classic roundels, and you've got the coral pillars. Now, I don't like the coral pillars, but I think because it's lit a lot better with the white roundels and like the white console, it's just lit a lot better, and I do love it for that. At 5th place, we've got the Third Doctor's console room from, I think, season 10 and 11. Well, on the screen, it's how it is in the 3 Doctors. For me, the reason I like this console that much is because it just feels like the Hartnell console, but just spiffed up a bit. You know, you've got the fault locator at the back, you've got the scanner screen at the top, you've got the nice chunky roundels, and like the wallpaper, you know, the proper built-in roundels. You've got a nice simple console. It just looks nice and simple, and that's all it needs to be, and it just works really well. In 4th place, coincidentally, we've got the 4th Doctor's console room from season 13, so it was used in Pyramids of Mars and Planet of Evil, I think. Now, I think this is a lovely console room. I think the white aesthetic of it, it's so sort of crisp and clean and sort of elegant. It just looks lovely. Like the white console looks lovely. The roundels and lighting, it just looks lovely. And when you see Tom Baker just standing there, you know, I say ominously, but when you just see him standing there, it just creates such great imagery. I really like how the entrance to certain areas of this TARDIS is like sort of an indent of the roundels. It just sort of folds in on itself. It's really cool like that. So it's a really nice console, really nice design. It's just a shame that we didn't see a whole lot of it. At number 3, we've got the 5th, 6th and 7th Doctor console, the 80s console room used from the 5 Doctors up until the end of the classic series in 1989. Now, I love this console room. I think it's so iconic and so 80s, it just really works. It takes the 4th and 5th Doctor one that I talked about earlier and just refines it, you know. It's a lot better lit, the roundels and the pillars look a lot neater and nicer, and that console is absolutely beautiful. It's got all those buttons, you just want to press all of them. It's just really cool, and the time rotor looks really intricate and weird. It looks brilliant. I absolutely love this console, but it's not quite my favourite. Coming in at number 2 is the 1st and 2nd Doctor console, the original console room from the 60s. This is just such a beautiful work of art. The fact that they were managed to build this set back in the 60s with hardly any money is something to be proud of. Well, it's just incredible. Like the roundels just look great, except for the paper, like the paper backdrops. I'm not overly keen on them, but the roundels are just fantastic. The console is so well designed. The room, you know, you've got the scanner, you've got the fault locator at the back, and you've got like a little bits of knick-knack, like the little chair that the Doctor sits in, you know, little bits of pieces that the Doctor collected on his travels. It just looks beautiful. And when people always joke about wobbly sets in the classic series, I turn them to this because this was flipping amazing. And as my favourite console room, coming at number 1 is the 11th and 12th Doctor's console room. This is just magnificent. The console is just fantastic. I love the spinny bits as well. The different levels, the size of it feels so big. It gets across the bigger on the inside feel so well. It feels like a proper spaceship. And you've got like the little roundels, and then in Series 9 they have extra roundels near the bottom of the set. And all the bits of knick-knack, like the bookshelves and the chalkboards added in the Capaldi era, just look superb, and it is easily my favourite console room to this day.